Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back, guys, to 12th Street Talk Back, where transparency is our love language. Listen, guys, we got a goody, goody, goody in store for you today. We have in the house Miss Natalie Lamb. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. This conversation just blessed my whole world. And we talked about a laundry list of things. So, guys, right after this quick break, the next voice you will hear is that of myself and Miss Natalie Lamb. Enjoy the show.
Unlock a new era in podcasting with Unfiltered Studios. Ready to break free from the ordinary? Dive into a world where authenticity meets innovation. Our network isn't just about podcasts, it's a revolution. From nostalgia to movies, sports to self-improvement, find your favorite podcast in an array of diverse shows, only at Unfiltered Studios. Join the movement. Subscribe to Unfiltered Studios today and join the podcasting revolution. Unfiltered Studios, where every voice finds its place. Visit unfpod.com today to find your favorite show.
Unfiltered Studios will help you press record.
So, guys, I'm going to tell you about this fabulous, fabulous guest we have on today. I am so excited. She is a life coach, a educator, a author, and a speaker, Miss Natalie Lamb. She has equipped herself with the vision for people with power to change their lives. She teaches them to choose purpose, freedom, and love. It's your choice to choose beauty or misery, love or hate, being bound or free. But nevertheless, you will choose. This is her purpose with each word she speaks. She speaks to give life and healing into people's lives. Natalie started her coaching business in 2007 called It's Your Choice. This company offers one-on-one coaching, classes, workshops, and retreats in marriage, parenting, personal, and spiritual development. She also has preventative classes and seminars to instruct the public about the most dangerous people. She created Child Predator seminars, which educates adults on the manipulative skills of sexual predators and bringing awareness to child sexual abuse. Welcome to the show. You're welcome, gorgeous. Oh gosh, what can we get into today? I was so excited about you coming onto the show this week. I had my mind set on one particular thing, but we'll get into that. Tell us, Natalie, who Natalie is as the person. Not all your certificates, just who you are.
Yes, as the person, I am personally, like this woman who has deeply discovered God. And that is my foundation. That is my base. That is my everything. I am a mother of two, and that has been my focus, my life, my why for so many things. My desire to make life better for them, right? And in the world for them.
Mm-hmm.
A life of 30 years to, the most amazing man ever. And, I am a person who believes deeply in being principled and integrity and knowing your whys of living, of being a creator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of knowing that you get to create your life, that we are dealt these many cards, right, that we never asked to be in our deck, but we do have to learn how to play them. And that creation comes from, right, like when You sit with the fact that I get to keep creating, no matter how many hard blows I get or even victories that I achieve, that I still get to create in the midst of that.
Mm-hmm.
The gifts that I believe God gave us as being made in his image, who is the most fabulous creator of ever existed, that we get a piece of that to keep creating. And, I love the human experience. I love the fact that we get to be fragile and we get to mess up and we get to succeed and we get to hurt and we get to heal and all of the things that we sometimes push away from, that we don't learn from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because or embarrassed or of just being human.
Mm-hmm.
Things I love to realize with my clients, with people that I know, just so that we can just start becoming better humans. Because I think it's so much better if we can just be better humans.
I love that. I loved how you explained that. You said creator, who we were designed to be. We have all these experiences, and sometimes we don't think about it like that. I know I didn't before you just said it. We just blunder through life sometimes, and we don't think about, I think we think about our choices, but I don't think we actually think about it the way you just laid it out. And that does give you something to ponder on.
Yes.
It does give you something to ponder on, knowing that, we are here. Our creator made us. We're here for a purpose. We just got to find out what that purpose is.
And let it constantly evolve, We don't ever have to get stuck in one. We get to have fluidity and movement, and things, may start off really great for you and this is your purpose for that time. Doesn't mean like seasons don't change and who you are doesn't change and you can't cultivate new things. I think our purposes are constantly evolving as we evolve.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Your training. You have a whole lot of training under your belt. Yeah, you wear many different hats, as I just described. Which one are you the most passionate about, or does all of them fit? I think we kind of tapped in a little bit before we went live, but is it one in particular that you're passionate about? It just gets you going.
You know what? It is an evolution of parenting was my first passion. So when I graduated from college, I went into parenting classes and teaching parents. And it was really birthed from, I wanted to deal with children that were in like abusive situations. And then recognize the fact that you can treat a child, but if you take it back to their environment, then you're just doing week to week patch up deals. And I figured, if I were able to get into the parents and teach the parents a different way of seeing our children, of opening up to different ways of being, I could change the whole atmosphere of the house. And so parenting was my first passion. And from there, everything else really just cultivated. And I got into just personal development with people, because as parents, we have this job to be, these little humans, parents and guide. But if we're messed up, right? If we have unhealed spots, if we are still traumatized by our own upbringing, then it's gonna affect our children. Right? So let me treat you fully, right, as a human, and get you where you need to go so that you don't inflict what was inflicted upon you to the next generation. Because that as parents, we hold so much power that if we can and do it good enough, right? It's like, you don't even have to be perfect as a parent. If you can do it good enough, that you're come out with enough love and care and nurturing and concern and guidance, that we can change a whole generation. So we have that power. And I think we, as parents, sometimes feel limited in how we move, that all it is about is just discipline. Let me just get them on track. Let me just make sure they get, good grades and and be half decent people, but it's so much more. So,
Oh, we girl, you better say that.
we hold so much power, and it's a tough job at times. But if you can look under and parent with the future in mind more than just right now, you change the right. You change the way you discipline. When discipline is teaching and training, right? You change how you do that because you're looking at how will this impact them in the future. To walk out into this world and be vital and beautiful and good humans, and so from there, of course, you get couples, right? So as I was teaching parenting classes, I developed a premarital course for people. My parents had a church, and so my parents allowed me to do a lot of teaching and training, which gave my foundation and my wings of exploring so many different things. So with that, you have the pre-marriage, you're teaching them what to look for, what hurdles they will see, so that they can have more of a fighting chance. As we know, marriage is 55% get divorced.
Yeah.
The hope that we can do it better before we step into it. If I can give you the tools and the understanding that you need to see your partner, then you're going to be able to jump over those hurdles when they come instead of falling over them, right? And then giving us a realistic view of what marriage is. Because, we have this fantasy, we have all these movies and ideas and pop and that ain't reality.
That's not.
It's not, right?
You better talk about it.
Reality minded, so that you're not like freaking out over everything that comes. I tell my clients that come in, they're like, this is going on. This is how it is. I'm like, you're just like everybody else. Calm down a little bit. Let's just work through this. Let's get you on the right track, and then we can move with it, right? How I got into the preventive education was really from my marriage counseling that I was doing, and it was 1 year that every couple, at least one or both of them, had been sexually abused.
Wow.
Oh, this is tragic, because then you see how it affects the individual, right? So I said, let's put my hat in the ring and say, how can I prevent this? Right. And that is where I cultivated and I researched, probably one of my longest research projects, because it's such a thou thing to look into. And I looked into it from the perspective of who are these predators? Because we can talk about, stranger danger. We can talk about, good touch, bad touch, tell me. We can talk about all that stuff. But if I don't know who these people are, they will take my life. And then they will cause harm. So let me give you an education about who predators are, because then you can see them in your family, right? Because we know 90% that are sexually abused are by someone that you know, love, and trust. So that means we know that we've given access to our children, and it's a different way of looking at it when you look at it from that perspective.
That's how I started this show. Just and I want to back it up a little bit, because you talked about, parenting. I did the whole thing that you just spoke, the structure, because that's how I was taught. Make sure the kids get a good education. Make sure, if you can, send them off to college, or to have that work ethic, manners, all that good stuff. And it didn't go the way that my mom imagined it. And we all think that. I think, I'm not even going to say I think. My son told me last year, oh, I'm going to raise my kids totally different from you than you did. And I said, he doesn't have any now, but I said, yeah, I was saying the same thing about my parents. But you'll find out, as you get older, that, you do the best you can with what you got. But I wish I would have had some of the information that I have now at a later age, because my perspective changed. I'm out of work. stay at home wife. And I'm noticing everything. And that's how the show started. It started from me sitting down at a restaurant with my husband for lunch, and three teenagers, I wouldn't say young adults, came in, and they were just so loud. It was just two beautiful girls, and the mouth did not match the face. And that blew my mind. And the more they sat there, the louder they got. And it just had me pondering on things. And then I started to notice all the stuff that I had not noticed while I was working a 9 to 5, because you're at work, you're doing your job. Yes, you interact with other personalities, but actually stopping and looking, like stopping and watching the trees, or just looking up at the sky and taking it all in. So I found myself that first year out of work just taking in everything. And oh my goodness, I wanted to talk about this and I wanted to talk about that. It did not get received very well. Some of it didn't. It's kind of like mind your own business. But then you get to the point where I got involved with like-minded people such as yourself that teach coaching in different areas. So I was able to not go at it the same way I did with my kids, just instill it, beat it in them. I was able to look at it from different avenues and figure out how to approach it in a different way. So I learned, as well as everything that I was concerned about, and still am concerned about it. Now I know to go about it in a total different way that may not be offensive or aggressive, but we do that. And you spoke about, not just with parenting, with marriages. And we could talk about that one all day. I am a divorcee, and my husband now, when we met, we thought everything was, we're just so compatible in so many areas. Again, 2 factors set in. We both were working. We both were working different shifts. When he was home, I was gone, and vice versa. So now that I'm home all the time and he's working, we're starting to get to know each other a little bit. And sometimes it's like, I don't like that. I don't like that. And then some days it could be just wonderful bliss, and it can go on like that for weeks. I'm finding something new about him that I did not know. He holds a lot of stuff for a while, and then he'll talk about it after he's worked it out in his head, to whereas I'm a chatter. You're going to know everything as my mate that's going on with me. And I learned it's not that he didn't want to hear it. He said I was processing it. So if it took me a couple days to get back to you and say something to you about it, it didn't mean that I didn't hear you and I wasn't concerned, but I was processing it. And he said, I've learned in this life that you don't live in your emotions. Your emotions are fleeting. So whereas you might come to me all in a rage or hyper or excited about this, that emotion probably will be gone tomorrow. And he's right.
Yeah. I think the thing that we have often failed to do, is particularly in marriage, really is to give ourselves the time to really study each other. I think sometimes we go in with, okay, I like this aspect of you, but these aspects I need you to change. And we don't just give ourselves time to learn. The study process is, I'm not trying to change you, but I'm trying to learn who you are, right?
Exactly.
How are you happy, mad, sad, disappointed, frustrated, elated, feeling accomplished, feeling defeated? You need to know how that looks, because when you can appreciate how your person comes into the relationship, right? Their mindset, how they move, what's their way of processing, right? Because all of us are different. We don't have to take everything so personal. And I tell my couples in marriage, you are traveling 3 lanes all the time, right? You have your personal lane as the wife, your personal lane as the husband, and then you have the relationship lane. And it's imperative that you know which lane this issue falls in. Because if it's a personal wife issue, then the wife has to handle her business. If it's a personal husband issue, he got to handle his business. And then when it's the relationship issue, both have to find a way to come together and handle that business. And it
Exactly.
is really being able often to pause and process and see what are we really dealing with. Because if we look at it wrong, we apply the wrong medicine. And
That's
sometimes
right.
we never treat each other, right? And the symptoms stay and the wound is still there, and we never get to the healing that's needed just because we are operating on the wrong lane.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I'm glad you said that. I am glad you said that. I think I've been out of work 3 years now, and that's what I'm trying to decipher in some of my decisions. I've got to work on, is it just me?
Yeah.
And our Bible tells us not to take offense. So I think about that first. Try not to take offense, whether it's in my marriage or just dealing out here in society. And sometimes we lose that. I lose that in that moment. And then when you go back, you say, I could have thought that through better, or I could have handled that better, or maybe it's me
Yeah.
and not the person or the situation. So, in all of this, being able to be, I thank God, being able to be a stay-at-home wife for the last 3 years, I'm tuned into, okay, Victoria, was that you or
Mhm.
was that situation? Was that you or was that hubby? Was that you or the person that you were conversing with? And I go to bed. I make sure that now that I go to bed and have that
Mhm.
thought processed out so that I won't take that with me, because I'm a dreamer. So anything that I go to bed on my mind, I'm going to have the weirdest dream about it. And so I've been learning how to balance that, and it takes
Yeah.
time.
It's
Would
hard.
you say that it takes time?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the process of learning ourselves takes so much time, right?
Mhm.
Because we are not really taught from, I mean, I think this new generation and stuff are given better tools than what we had. Um,
Mhm.
and they're able to be a little bit more introspective. I think they're able to look at things from different vantage points. At least
Mhm.
the ones that are taught this, earlier on. But
Mhm.
the introspective process, it's kind of grueling at times.
Yes.
It's to look at me and see me for me, right? So if I'm the constant in everything in my life, that I have to always be able to go back to me and say, what part do I play in this?
That's all right.
Right? That doesn't mean that you're responsible for other people's behavior, but I am the constant. So I have to first go to me and say, okay, this keeps happening, or I keep
Mhm.
attracting these people, or I keep reacting this way, which I don't like. Well, then why?
Mhm.
Like I have to always be willing to ask myself why. And I think we don't ask why enough. I think we just
Mhm.
move and we're like, this is how I want to be, and this is how I want to. But why do you want to do that? It's
Mhm.
an important question, and you keep asking why, right? You don't stop at the first why. We be lying to ourselves.
Yeah.
You just keep going down the road of like, okay, then why that? Why that?
That's right. That's right. You hit it dead on the head. We lie to ourselves. We
We
do.
want to also see ourselves in a way that is often sometimes better than what we are. And
Yes.
when we get into that idea of perfection, right? Like I'm always trying to be posed and have it together and not letting my flaws show and covering my stuff. And it's like, but look, we're all human. We all are
Mhm.
flawed. We all have weaknesses. We all are gonna sometimes screw it all up. Like this
Mhm.
is the nature of living as a human. And if we could just embrace that, we wouldn't be so afraid to learn.
Mhm.
We
Yes.
wouldn't
Yes.
be so afraid to step into healing because it's okay for me to be here.
Mhm.
It's okay for me
Mhm.
to say, I don't know. Like, look how we don't even want to say we don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like it
Exactly.
actually, when you can admit I'm ignorant about something,
Mhm.
negative. I thought we have used the word ignorance as, derogatory, but ignorance is just simply saying you don't know. I mean,
Mhm.
how beautiful it is for you to understand what you don't know, because once
Mhm.
you know what you don't know, you can go find it. You can
Mhm.
learn. Like, oh
Mhm.
my, learning should be a lifelong journey that we never stop, right? Like, I don't care how
Mhm.
old you are, you can keep learning. You should want to keep evolving. Like, don't
Yeah,
be stuck where you are.
that's right.
You
That's
know,
right. You know what? You said three things, and I wish I was writing them down. You know, I want to backtrack on that learning thing because we're never too old to learn. I'm 52 years old, and I feel like I'm just learning me in the last 3 years. I'm just learning different things that goes on in life. I'm learning that I'm not as mature as I thought I was. Okay. I'm learning that. I'm learning that I do still have moments of temper tantrums with certain people, like the hubby, if I want something to go my way, or the sisters, if I want something to go my way. And I learned, it's not going to be your way all the time. People have lives and you have to respect that. I'm learning boundaries because I will overstep if I'm close to you, if I'm close enough to you. But you said something about flaws too. I
mhm,
had to embrace that this year. Just within my appearance. I happened to be on a show a couple of months back, and it was supposed to be just audio. And I
okay.
didn't have my makeup and my hair done, and I was sick. And, I was trying to upload myself on the camera, and I came up looking horrible, horrible. I looked like I felt, but nobody knew that I was sick. And it was some sniggles and giggles because it was like a panel. But it bothered me that whole night. And I
Mhm.
don't think it was because I know it wasn't because I wasn't looking my best because I go out all the time, makeupless, hair not done, a baseball cap. It was the fact that the peers were doing the snickling and the giggling. So I challenged myself the next day and the next couple days. I did my show live, no makeup, hair unkept, because I didn't want to carry that feeling around with me that my peers had projected on me because I got caught in a
Mhm,
bad moment.
mhm.
But this is me when I'm going out to an event, to church or whatever. I love I mean, I did 30 years in retail. So
Mhm.
I love the makeup, the hair. I'm a
Yeah,
cosmetologist by trade. So, fashion is my thing, but it's nothing for me to walk out the house with a baseball cap and no makeup. So why it bothered me then, I had to get to the root of it. And the
yeah.
root of it was you got taken by surprise and it
Surprise.
did not make you feel good. And then they did not make you feel better. And
Exactly.
you start second guessing yourself with some of that. Oh gosh, I love it. We didn't even talk about any of this, but I love it. I love
That's
it.
feeling because I was feel the same way. If I
Mhm,
didn't know that I was going to be projected in a certain way, because we do want to control how we are projected. We do want to control how we are seen. Right? That's not
mhm,
a negative, and that's not necessarily a flaw or weakness. If you like to look a certain way when you're doing a certain thing, like
mhm,
that's something that I think every person holds. But to take it to where you took it to say, well, let me challenge myself to be willing to be exposed in this way is a beautiful way to challenge those underlying feelings and be
mhm,
okay. You
mhm.
know, I mean, how you felt was legitimate because I was the same way too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tried it for a couple days and I said, but this is not me. I don't overly do it like I did today when I have guests on. I kind of put on a little extra something. But I said, I'm not going to be that person that try to fit into everybody's box.
Yeah.
How I wake up when I feel, first of all, I want to represent my Heavenly Father. It's not
Mhm.
about what you see, it's about what I'm saying out of my mouth, which He told us to keep my words and my commandments. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm representing my Father. If you take away my appearance and look at my heart, then you'll see past any of our appearances. But there's a couple questions that swam around in my head as you were saying that.
Uh-huh.
um, One of the things, and I'm not reading anything off this paper. One of the things you work with personalities, right? How do
Yeah.
you feel about the topic code switching? I've got mixed emotions about that term.
The term, you know what? It is, you can see it, I think, in two different ways, right? Or maybe four or five different ways. I think the reality of our existence in this country is the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are times when it is almost mandatory that we present ourselves in a way that is going to get us to where we need to go.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we all have a professional way of being versus a way we're with our girls, the way we are with family. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that that's a negative, and I don't think that that is necessarily code switching. I think
Mm-hmm.
that it is us lining up to where we are and moving
Mm-hmm.
in the right space at the right time, right?
Yeah.
I think where we can confront ourselves is, do I feel like if I am just me, the professional me nonetheless,
Mm-hmm.
but if I'm just me with my tone and how I speak and all of that, do I feel like that won't be received? But the
Mm-hmm.
why, right?
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have to change, my vernacular, and I have to, make my voice a little higher, and I have to do all those things to be accepted, it's tough, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How you come in is how you end up having to stay. And
Yeah.
that's what we have to recognize, that when we enter spaces, we want to enter in as confident as we are within ourselves. So
Mm-hmm.
that my voice is usually a little deeper, and I am not always as poised. And sometimes, my blackness comes out. I want to be
Mm-hmm.
okay with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I also want to show that my blackness does not equal non-professionalism. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want you to think that me being fully me equals something other, and that the only way to be professional looks like another race, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's the confidence that we have within ourselves that we walk into the room, and
Mm-hmm.
necessarily have to code switch, but I can't always be professional when professionalism is called for.
Right.
That,
I concur. I concur. In my circle of friends, and it's very, very small in this new world that we
Mhm.
live in, I never thought that I would be here doing this,
Yeah.
podcasting, radio. That wasn't on my agenda. I was going to still be at corporate level in retail. That
Mhm.
was on my agenda, a buyer somewhere. And it didn't happen that way. I had 3 back surgeries and I landed here, and I'm a talker. I'm used to being in public, being around people, selling them something, or talking to my team, the people under me. And I ended up here, and in my circle of friends, I'm kind of getting a little bit of backlash.
Okay.
And the thing code switching came up, and I really dug deep dive into it. And I said, in the household where I was raised back in the day, we only had landlines. This is way before answering machines came along. You would hear your parents answer the phone in a certain manner. For me, it
Yeah.
was my mom would change her voice.
Mhm.
And then when she knew the person on the other the phone, end of the phone, she relaxed. And you knew she was having a conversation with someone that she knew closely. And for me, I think that rubbed off for me and my family members. I feel
Ooh.
like in certain situations, you do. It's unfortunate sometimes we have to kind of cover up our
Yeah.
blackness, or, and I would say minorities. In certain situation, we would have to cover that up. But I do think it's a fine line between someone saying, oh, you're code switching for this situation, versus I just want to present myself in the best
Right.
possible professional life
Right.
that I can. So I'm glad you said that, because I was feeling that too. But we got so much going on, and our young people have so much to contend with. And you hit it earlier when you said they got more things than we do now. They have different avenues to make money. Whereas, back in the day, if you had a full-time job and wanted a part-time job, you had to work around your full times, what they said that you could do. Now you kind of got that balance of these are the days that I can work. But in the era I grew up in, we didn't have all these vices and we can Uber or DoorDash to make
Right.
something extra.
I think the one thing that we have to be careful of is throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? I think that we have to appreciate the different generational errors that we have walked through. And I think Black people in particular, that we can look at the older generation and we can say, oh, they did this wrong, and all of the things that we can line up, but we have to put ourselves in their shoes. We have to understand that we cannot apply what we live in now to what they lived in back then. It is essential that we respect how they moved in the world, because they did the best they could under the circumstances they were in, under conditions that would probably break us. So it is. I have a huge respect for the older generation, because of them we are here, right? Because of them, because they took the blows on their back, right? Because they lived in affirmative action and were the only of corporations and movements and buildings and professions. We have to appreciate how they learned how to move in these very different spaces that no one else before them was in.
So, you better say that thing.
Oh, they code switched or they did this and I'm not doing that and I'm not. Calm down a little and learn first.
Yes.
Ask them how, ask them why. Get an understanding and say, let me take the goodness that they lived in and let me add it. We can keep adding and we can subtract, but don't subtract everything because you want to apply their life to this world that we're living in now, because they do not coexist at all.
Exactly.
Right? Let's learn from them. Let's take the wisdom that they have. The wisdom that you don't have to agree, but get the wisdom and the understanding of their why. Because he's right? I mean, this new generation don't have everything together. They got some things that they move better, right, than maybe us older people. But don't discount how we learned how to make it in this world and the advances that you are now living in.
That's right.
We did, and some of the treatments that we took in order for you to walk in the freedoms that you have. We can walk them together and learn from each other.
That's right. That's right. My sentiments exactly. I don't discount anything that I learned from my seasoned people. I'm an advocate for my young and my seasoned. When I came out with this podcast, and I didn't think of it on my own, I think it was just something God did. One day I said, where transparency is our love language. And I said I wanted to bridge the gap of communication, not just bridge the gap in our communities, but I feel like there's a communication barrier there. There are things that can be learned from both generations, all generations, but we got to slow down long enough to hear each other and not listen to combat, but to listen to actually learn something. And at the end of the day, if the old saying applies, we can agree to disagree, great, but you received my information. And maybe later on, you'll ponder on it. My grandmother used to have this saying about church, when the bishop or pastor or minister is preaching, you rake in what you need for yourself. She said, think of it like a plate of food. You eat what you can, you rake the rest to the side of the plate, and don't throw it away because you never know when you might need it. And that's how I look at the generations and communicating. And that's just with experiencing it with my children and looking at the world, what we see on social media. We didn't have social media. We didn't have cell phones where we could pick them up and go live like this. I mean, we had to work for those opportunities, especially being minorities, Black, they wasn't so gung-ho to push cameras in our face unless we were singing, dancing, or in sports. But now we have a great opportunity to use platforms such as this one to get out here and try to make our voice heard. The
Yeah.
setback from that is the world we live in today. The good stuff gets overlooked in social media because the bad stuff has 100,000 or 500 or million views on something that is not adding any value to your life. It's just entertainment. And then someone one day is going to look back on that and say, that was a terrible idea to record that.
Yeah.
It's like that bad tattoo.
That part you're making about the communication, I think we have lost the ability to really communicate. The ability to sit and hear and understand from the other person's perspective, and then communicate how we feel and what we understand, and to be able to receive from one another. I think with the digital age and so much texting and all of that, people stop having conversations. Like we're not really communicating even the way we used to communicate, because back in the day with us, there was none of that. If you had to have a conversation, you had to pick up the phone or go face to face and talk it out. There was no, of course you could send a letter or whatever, but it was this push that we had to talk to each other. And we didn't talk as well as I think we used to talk. And I think that movement, we have to instill that in our children, push them to their friends on the phone, push us to sit down and have conversations with our kids, right?
That's right.
These conversations about how you want them to be. Talk about the world. Teach them how to think. Teach them life.
Right.
Them come up against you and question some of your stuff without us taking it so defensively all the time. Let's how to hear different perspectives, different ways of being. It's so essential if we're going to move us into a better space, right? We got to be able to hear each other.
That's right.
That's me being okay with someone disagreeing with me. That's me being okay with someone seeing it a little different from me. I don't have to, let go of my thoughts and beliefs and feelings, but I can try yours on, right? I teach people, I teach communication as well. Just try it on. Like, you know how you try on a dress and it don't fit, and you take it out and find another one that fits? It's the same thing with thoughts and feelings and ideas and perspectives. Be good to try it on before you discard it. And that process, we don't do enough. We don't talk about it enough, And to the other point you were making about the negativity that we now digest on a daily, hourly basis, that we eat so much, and I don't think we recognize how much it messes up your spirit and your mind and your perspective on life, and how ugly we give ourselves permission to be. Right? Because if I acting a plumfool out there, a part of that, and everyone's applauding it, and we're talking about it and all of that, it's like I have to create negativity for you to come into my space. So all these people, we're so hungry for other people's affirmation. We're so hungry for everyone else's validation that I will lower myself to get you to like and approve what I'm doing. And then I discard myself, because what happens when the camera's off, and what happens when the phone is no longer lighting up? I get to go to bed with just myself.
That's right.
And at peace, when I go to bed with myself, I taught my daughters, I want you in the morning to look in the mirror and say, I'm going to make me proud. Don't think about me, make you proud. And then when you come in home at night, can you look in that same mirror and say, I'm proud of how I acted today?
That's
and
right.
Own it, and then switch it and change it the way you need to do it. We just giving ourselves permission just to act up at times.
Yes, we do. And to your point, I just learned that I just learned that, in past discussions, and I still catch myself doing it now. I'm so strong in what I think about a certain thing. I'm definitely strong in my faith. That's not going to change. That's not going to waver. I don't care who you are. If the word says it, I'm applying it, and I'm not going to debate with you about it. But there's certain areas in my life that I feel like that I had to pull back in my opinion, because I felt like my opinion was the only one that mattered. And I wasn't giving the other person a chance. So, and I thank you, Holy Spirit. I just said to myself, in my mind, I'm growing, I'm learning, because now I recognize when I'm being over opinionated. And if I'm that strong about what I'm thinking, then now I'm a little bit less active in being verbal about it. I pull back. I might hang up or walk away feeling some type of way, but I don't display it like I used to. And I think that's growth, but I still have a long way to go in that area. I'm not perfect, and being raised from a certain generation, we can be that. But let's move on. I want to be able to talk about some of the wonderful things that you are doing, because we just got caught up and we could talk all day. Your books, I wanted to talk about your books. I wanted to talk about your program, It's Your Choice. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I'll talk about It's Your Choice, and then I'll talk about the books, since It's Your Choice started first. As I said, I had been teaching and counseling since 97. 2002, my mom passed away, and that was like my fork in the road of figuring out, where am I going? What am I doing next? How do I move in this world without this woman being here? Daughter was 18 months, and it was just this feeling like I had no safety net. And so I said, I have to start creating, right? And I have more articulation about all of it than I did then, more than I was just moving, right? And it was like, I have to create something that I can stand on, right? That will be mine, because I feel like I needed some ownership of something, right? Even though I did everything at the church, and my father, he recently passed in 2021 and had the church up till then. So I was always there working, but I was like, I need something that's mine, that I can feel like I was grounded. So I went in and got certified to do mediations and family mediations. And on my way home back is when it came to me, oh, I should start this. Like, this would be my thing. I'm already doing it and have been doing it for a long time. And then from there, it was a creation of, how do I give back to the world what I hope to put into it, right? I have like freedom, love, purpose is such a big way of moving, of choice, right? And It's Your Choice really just represents that we always get to choose. Even not choosing is choosing, right? So it's like knowing that your power is in your choice, and our lives are created by every little choice that we make. Use it well, right? Choose well. And it was the empowerment that I wanted to give people in that space. So this is where the coaching came from. This is where the retreats and the workshops and everything else kind of just gets filtered through that one lens of how do I move through this, and how do I give people what they need. It's eclectic because I allow my clients to teach me what was needed in the world, right? You can get studies and you can learn theories and all of that, but it is humans that have the experience. So everything I feel is my teacher. And so I don't come in with, I know all the answers and I'm going to direct your life. It's, we are co-creators. We do this together. I'm just showing you perspectives that you may not have, in different vantage points, right? Of seeing your life and your world and your relationships. Because I do believe relationships are our greatest wealth, right? And so from there, I have these books that I have had. I'm a writer, so I'm always writing. I'm always creating classes. I write myself. All of that is just what I've always done. My first book is called The Wisdom Chronicles, and there'll be 6 books in total of the Chronicles. The first book is called Open Your Eyes, and I literally wrote that probably like 20 years ago. Of course, I
Wow.
added when I finally produced it, but it was just like vision. Like, we don't
Mhm.
see stuff, right? And if you don't see, then how can you change? If you don't see, how can you be able to even embrace what you love? So it's this idea, and it's just a book of wisdom, right? Of how to cultivate, how to choose different perspectives, how to see life from different ways that you may not see it. And that's the kind of the basis of Open Your Eyes. It is and all of the books are really, I want people to be able to go onto the balcony of their life and take in
Right.
wisdom and say, how can I apply it? And the beauty of the books is that they grow with you. There may be
Right.
part of it, right, that says, oh, that fits really well right now. But, a year or 2 years from now, because life is evolving, right, and happening and life on us, this new wisdom may stand out even louder. So it is
Mm.
always that you can keep in your library, that you can pick up throughout your life, right?
Yeah.
And they will be able to give something to you. The second book that I have published now is called What I Want You to Know. And that was written over my daughter's life. It was from the space of, I lost my mom at, I was 27, and it was so much I did not get from her of, I just like ways of living and questions I didn't ask because I was still young and all of that stuff. And she imparted my life to me. So I know a lot from her, but there's so many little bits that I wish I could have gone back and asked her how
Mhm.
this and what's your perspective on that. So I started writing literally in my phone. Things would come up when my daughter was little, and I'd be like, "Oh, I want you to know this. This is how you navigate." I would see something on TV. Okay, if this happens to you, I want you to navigate it this way. As she grew and learning her and those different things, both of my daughters, and it just was a compiling of, this is the wisdom I want you to walk into the world with, right?
Right.
I gave it to her when she went to college. It was just, not in the book form. It was just the writings that I had did for her. And so with that book, it really is something that I would love for the youth up to young adults to really embrace, because
Mhm.
we make some of our biggest mistakes in our 20s and 30s. And if we
Mhm.
look at those years, the 20s as just this space of exploring, right? Don't get
Mhm.
stuck, right? Look at life as this thing that you're trying to navigate and find your way. You don't know your way yet. You're not supposed to know your way yet, right?
Mhm.
You're supposed to be exploring and seeing. Be careful, because what you pick up in your 20s is going to carry with you in your 30s, right?
Yes.
And then when you
Mhm.
get 30, it's like now you're really grown. Like, people stop giving you the passes that they gave you in your 20s.
Yes.
You gotta now start creating.
You're right.
So it's like, take this and use it. Of course, everything won't apply, but keep reading it, keep choosing it, right? And then in what I want you to know is based after each wisdom for you to write your own, because I want them to learn how to write wisdoms of their own life. I want you to stop and think and cultivate how you
Yep.
want to write. Like, you are creating this journey, and do it well and do it with thought, and give yourself the pause to be
Mhm.
able to see things from many different perspectives, not just that one. So those 2 books, and then I have the other 4 that will come out that really go around my symbol of, or my logo of, It's Your Choice, which is wisdom, change, ingenuity, and patience. And those books will just incorporate those 4 different building blocks of living, that we can take into our lives.
I
So
love it.
they're on Amazon, they're on Walmart, they're on Barnes and Noble. Like, go to my website, and you can buy them there. But beautiful little treasures that you can keep with you for a life.
Wow. Well, guys, you heard her. It's at Barnes and Nobles, Walmart, Amazon. My wheels are spinning. Um, Thank you so much for that. You got
So
so much that this one little hour could not tap into. I do want to tap into the book that you said you wrote it prior to publishing it and you gave it to your daughter.
Yeah.
How did she respond after, if you don't mind saying?
Well, she loved it. When I first gave it to her, she, of course, she's going off to college, so she's in that little 19-year-old or 18-year-old mindset. She's like, "Oh, Mom, this is great, yeah. After she actually graduated was when I ended up publishing, and I let her read through it, the tweaks I made, the changes that I made. It's probably something I can keep writing. I can probably write a whole second to it, just watching my girls grow and trying to help them evolve, and just young people, particularly. I want them to realize the amount of power they have at a really young age to create and to fight back and not fall into the norm and be rebellious against always the peer pressure that's around us. Like, I want you to be yourself. I want you to know how to be flexible, right? Because flexibility is a part of it, but I want you to be grounded. I want you to have a set of principles and rules and movement that you stand on, that you are building around. This is who I'm going to be. Because we get to determine that, and does it evolve? Yes. Does it change? Yes. But there's certain things that should not change, right? There's principles of integrity and character that we don't talk about anymore, and our society is any better because we're not discussing these things, and they're free flowing. There's no standard, and there's nothing that holds us down anymore, right?
That's right.
We're floating, and floating makes you feel unsafe.
We're downloading so much on social media and in this world that we navigate in. And I keep saying social media because it's a big part of our lives. I mean, you could be at the doctor's office, you could be at the restaurant, and we've got our phones in our hand. We're downloading all that stuff. And some of it is negative. A lot of it is negative, and some of it is positive, but you don't know subconsciously you're downloading that stuff and it's in your spirit. So it takes away from things like you were saying, integrity, respect, knowing who you are and not conforming to the world. It takes me back to one of the ones I have on my whiteboard today, Romans 12:2. Not conforming to the world. I'm just paraphrasing here, but transforming by the renewing of your mind. When we're downloading all that stuff, we may not think, oh, I'm just scrolling through, I've seen this is funny. But in retrospect, we're doing a download. We're doing a download.
Absolutely. And I created a free course that everybody can go get, called How to Be a Better Human. And it's 5 steps of just becoming a better human. And it's so important that we put focus on being better. That means something that I choose, right? And it's 5 steps. It's easy to cultivate them into your life. You can listen to it as many times as you need to once you go on and find it. And you can find that at www.iyconline.com. But the website that's scrolling, you can connect to it from there as well. But it's just to become better. Like, we cannot just choose to be our base selves, because our base selves are not always our better selves.
That's
and we get to choose. Like, all of us could be really, really awful. All of us could just not and do whatever the heck we want to do, and it's just about me. But we are connected to each other.
That's right.
How I move through the world is connected to how my family moves. Is connected to everybody else out there that touch and am associated with. We have to choose something different. The world right now, it's not the best, and I just think we can do better.
I do too. I concur. I think that, I always say it, your family, as I got deeper and deeper into my faith walk,
Yeah.
God started to show me things. And the one thing he showed me is I couldn't rely on the fact that I was going around saying, oh, my grandmother's a pastor, my mom was a Christian, my uncles and aunties are dinkies and ministers and this and that. That was their walk. He wanted a personal relationship with me.
Yeah.
So by me shouting that to the rooftop wasn't doing anything for my walk. But as he began to develop me, one of the things that he placed in my spirit was our families, our family name. That's our tribe. And if we can start right there in our tribe, then it branches out like a tree. And that's one of the things that he deposited in my spirit. I got teased about it a couple of times, but it is your family name. When you go out in public, that's your family name. If my mom was still alive, God rest her soul, there were certain, you couldn't go back. Somebody couldn't go back and tell Miss Edna that she saw Victoria doing X, Y, and Z. Now, Victoria cut up, but she was sneaky cutting up, because if it went back to her, that's my family name. That's our family name. What you do outside of this household reflects the family. And that was one of the things that he opened me up to, with the 12 tribes. Your family, if we worked in our tribes, we could connect, I think, a little bit better with like-minded people and stop turning up our nose at things that we don't understand and not willing to dive in and get a better understanding, whether you change your view or not. And that's something I've been working on for the last 3 years. So I thank you for that. I want to dive just a little bit. I'm running out of time here, but I want to dive just a little bit. And I want to talk about grief, because you are a coach for grief. And I'd love to have you back on, since we didn't really touch that topic, because I've had several people, including myself. I lost my mom a little less than 9 years ago. And then my sister, which was, both of them were my besties.
Yeah.
Right behind her, like 2 years later. Although I come from a large family and I have 3 other sisters and 4 other brothers, certain ones you're tight with. I'm the baby girl, and then I have a baby brother. So, boys and girls trying to be tight together. And the sisters were different. They were in a bit, not a better, their age difference was a longer gap than mine. So that grief, it stuck around for a while. And then I know other people that have recently lost fathers, mothers. And I'm thinking of one in particular, a cousin of mine. She lost her father, and it's been a couple years, and she's taken it hard. And I had invited her on the show to talk about it, but she wasn't quite ready. What would you say about the grief process? Because it's a hard thing to deal with. Sometimes I still sit here and burst out crying for no reason when certain situations cross my path. And it's like, Mom, I wish I could talk to you again. Well, if I can't talk to Mom, why can't I talk to my sister Kim? Because they would understand where I'm coming from. Not to take away from my other siblings, but some understand a little bit better. What would you say to someone that's going through that right now?
The main thing that I share with my grief group really is that grieving is a lifelong process. It doesn't have an end date. And sometimes we're thinking, let me just get through here, and by this year I should be better, and it should be over with, and I should be able to move freely. It's forever. It looks different. It ebbs and flows. There's waves, right? And so I tell them, you just learn to ride the waves. When the wave of emotion come, whatever the wave is, you learn how just to ride it, because you know that emotion's not going to stay. So you become okay with feeling. You become okay with grieving. You become okay with mourning, right? It just becomes a part of you. Like you are different after you have significant loss. You're not the same person you used to be, because death changes us. And that's part of the fight, that we don't want to be changed by it. And so I'm trying to push it down or say, I'm good now, I'm okay. No, you're different, because you're supposed to be different. And that's okay, right? It becomes a tragedy when you try to be who you were. When you're trying to get back to that life, you have to allow a new normal to come to you. You have a new way of processing the world because the people that you used to process the world with are no longer.
Mm.
So now I've got to find a whole new way to process my world, and that takes time, right? And a part of that acceptance, which I also teach, is that acceptance is a part of the journey. It's
Mm.
not a acceptance. It's not I accept they're gone and that's it. It's every time we need them. It's every time I wish you were here. I have to accept again the fact that you're not here. So accept
Mm.
becomes a part of the journey as well, which is why everything becomes a little bittersweet because this is great and I wish, but the thing is I wish you could be here with me as I'm moving through this. And so it's the elation of it, but it's the sadness of it. And we
Mhm.
live with, if we can live in the and, we can accept grief as a part of our life, right? So I can grieve and have gratitude. I can be sad and still live in joy, right?
Mm.
I can do all of the ands and not negate either one of them because now this is a part of my life.
Right.
Um, you spoke of in the beginning, I mean, I started trying to study and understand grieving just from a very personal perspective of how I got into it because I did not know how. No one was talking about it. In the church, particular, it's they're in a better place. It was God's will, and it's
Mhm.
like it's going to say that goes after that, right? But that didn't work for me. I'm sitting here saying, y'all getting on my nerves saying this stuff to me. And I
Yeah.
get like, wait,
Yeah.
you keep telling me like I shouldn't be feeling what I'm feeling because I should be rejoicing and saying hallelujah and all this that she's on the other side. Well, and that's beautiful for her, but what about me? Because I'm still trying
Mhm.
to figure out how to move through this, right?
Mhm.
So, my grieving that I investigated and learned and embraced is how I give it back to others from a very personal perspective, but then now a perspective of being very learned and understanding the process and growth
Mhm.
so that we that are in this process, it's okay for us to be here. And it's okay
Mhm.
for us to be here for a lifetime. My mom, 22 years, one Mother's Day is when she passed, and I still get broken up. I still miss her like crazy. I still wish this was not my reality. And I embrace that. And I'm okay with it. And if I
Mhm.
give myself permission to just be, then I can give other people permission to be. And so part of me having the grief group that I have is that I want to give people permission so that we can keep giving permission to each other,
That's right.
right? Because grieving is a part of living.
Well
And
said.
grief is the price you pay for love. So
Mhm.
let's just learn how to do it and normalize it
Yeah.
so that we can do it. And if anyone's like needing, I do every Thursday, first Thursday of every month, I host
Mhm.
a group support group. I'm on Facebook called The Grief Journey. So you guys can join if you like. You can join live on Facebook or also have a Zoom link that will be in that group. So, grieving is a big thing of life. And so, as you said, I wear a lot of hats, but I just wear the hats of the human existence. And I'm
Right.
trying to touch all the parts of our lives to help us be able to just live a little better, a little more free, a little in love, and a whole lot in purpose.
Well, you said it in your statement, freedom.
Yes.
Freedom. We have the choice to be who we want to embrace. Do we want to embrace the hurt? Do we want to embrace the love? I just found that out about me a couple weeks ago. I had been carrying around this photo in my phone of my mom when she was in the hospital bed. And I lived in New York at that time that she passed. And I just got the phone call, get here as soon as you can. So I jumped on a plane and came to North Carolina, and she had already passed. And when the doctor said, well, if you believe in God, you can go in and try to talk to her, and you just never know, she may hear you. But the thing about it, I just realized a few weeks ago that I was carrying that picture because I was beating myself up that I didn't have the opportunity to actually have a conversation, whether she was in the transitioning
Mhm.
of saying goodbye to me. I still didn't have that or that moan or that, baby, I know that you here. I know you made it home. And I still couldn't bring myself to get rid of that photo. But now I know why
Mhm.
I was holding on to the photo. So I filled my phone with new photos of all the wonderful things that she meant to me. Um, and hopefully one day that's something that I can get over, the fact that I did not get to have that last conversation. I'm gonna stop before I get choked up.
I, and listen, guilt is a part of the grieving process.
hmm
Very rarely does someone not feel some guilt during the process. And
hmm
our greatest stress is our expectation versus reality
Right.
of passing. The expectation is you would get there. She would still be alive. You could have your last conversation. She could know you were there. She could give you her last word of wisdom or whatever. But the reality was that she passed before you got there. Part of your stress of the grief and the guilt is being able to make peace
hmm
between expectation and reality. And when
hmm
you make peace with it, right, then you can release yourself from the guilt. And then you'll be able to say, but this is because I had this whole lifetime. It was not just
hmm
what we had
hmm
was a lifetime of love and understanding and movement that this last moments were never going to be the totality of the relationship that you had.
hmm Yeah. That you summed it up. You summed it up. So the release is something that I definitely need. And I think I'm working on it to be able to recognize that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm working on that part. And it made me smile actually to have that conversation in my head and say it out loud on one of my podcasts. And I had no intention of talking about it, but it made me feel good that I at least recognize that portion and that I am growing a little bit more in grace
Yes.
and love. So when you recognize small things about yourself, you should be proud of that. Well, I am proud to have had you on. Like I said, we didn't tap into half of the things that I wanted to talk about. I touched just briefly on the child preventative because you do seminars about, the child predator and how to educate the parents and the children.
Yeah. So I mean that one really is very dear to me. I tell you this, I've been doing this for like 15 years. It's so hard to get parents to come out. It's so hard to get adults to say, I need this education. We just are all, I think, prayers and fingers crossed close to that this won't happen to mine. And we
hmm
fail to realize that 1 in 3 girls will be sexually violated before the age of 18. 1 in 5 will be. And that statistic has not changed. And in the decade and a half that I've been doing this, the statistic is staying true, right?
hmm
It's actually growing. With social media, you have more sextortion that's happening, and we are unaware of how it's happening. We are unaware of the differences of how predators deal with girls versus how they deal with boys. There is so much out there that we need an education on, not
hmm
from the internet, not little memes that are on. We need to sit down and be educated on and understand what we're up against as parents because children cannot protect themselves.
Yeah.
It is the parents and the adults' jobs to protect our children, and we are not doing the best job. So anyone that wants it, I do small groups, I do big groups. If it's just for your family, like we can get a Zoom going. Like I just want people to be educated on this because we have to stop this from
hmm
occurring rate that is
Yes,
occurring.
we do. Yes, we
You
do.
know,
I,
once it
I
happens,
highlighted that. Go
yeah,
ahead. Say, I didn't hear what you said. What'd you say?
because once it happens, it's with you for a lifetime.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Been there and done that too. And I think we don't talk about it. The serious stuff, we don't talk about it enough. And I'll keep saying it not to offend anybody, but it's true. The negative stuff that we see going down social media outweighs conversations like we're having today. We're live and we don't have that many views, and I'm not ashamed to say it. However, someone's right now is saying something totally off the wall and probably have 100 people watching their live stream, when this is stuff that affects our community. It affects our children. It affects us personally as people. And we've got to get our mind retrained on the things that matter versus the things that don't matter. So I want you to tell my audience about your 2 books again, where they can find them, and your classes. Are they online, in person? I'm going to give you the floor now.
The books again, The Wisdom Chronicles. You can find those at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and then on my website as well. So pick those up and share with other people. I do have 2 online courses that remain, How to Be a Better Human. That's free of charge. So everybody go grab it and let's talk about that. I also have a marriage course that's online called Uniquely Yours, How to Build the Marriage that you desire. And that's also on there. The classes that I do, I randomly do classes. I try to offer stuff continuously, so you can follow me on social media. It's Your Choice Facebook, or It's Your Choice 06 on Instagram, where my classes are always posted. I just was supposed to be doing a Dangerous Man, Dangerous Men and Me. I Must Protect Me, but I did not get enough people to sign up for that. So that's out there, and if anybody wants it, again, as I said, like the preventive education stuff is for small groups to large groups. I just really want people to be safe. And I do, spiritual classes to help us understand who we are in God, and then who we are as individuals. And then, all kinds of different classes that go along with my perspective and my purpose of trying to move us into being better humans. So follow me there, and then you can always be abreast of what's coming up. Well,
All right,
thank you for the opportunity, Victoria.
You're welcome, Nellie. It was a pleasure. And, my head is swirling because we said we wanted to have a candid conversation, and it didn't go anywhere near the many things that we can talk about. So my hope is that you would come back soon, and we can just tackle some of the topics. And again, for my audience, you guys that follow me know that you could tap into the comments to ask questions, or you could follow the link that's pinned in the comments and come up on stage and ask Natalie questions. So, I'm going to keep in touch with her. I'm going to tag you on all of my social media pages for the people that want to get some of this counseling that you got going on. I think it's wonderful. Thank you for coming to the show. I want you to come back. I would love. You said something, I wrote it down just now. The Dangerous Man. Was that a panel that you were going to do, or?
No, it was a class that I host. Me and another lady that I met on a podcast, we were going to host it together. I would be the main teacher of it. And it's just really to walk women through to understand. I do 8 different types of dangerous men, but I help women understand who they are, why they seek you, and your best defense strategy, as well as you understanding your red flags and how they appear, and then how to heal once you get into a toxic relationship, because it is impacting you. Even if you leave, you still have to be able to learn how it has affected you, because it's once you get in, and if you can get out, praise God. But a lot of people don't get out. So my strategy and hope is that I can tell you about these guys, and you can spot them before you get in a relationship, before you feel like you're in love, before their manipulation and all of their tactics are used on you. You can be aware of them. Because again, as you have said many times, Victoria, we don't talk about this serious stuff enough. It's not enough to have a mean about narcissist men or this is that. You got to sit down and be willing to be educated on stuff that I promise you don't know yet, because no one talks about it.
because we think we know it all. I wish I knew half of what you just said a long time ago, because we go through it and we find out why we're in it or get out of it, where it affects us greatly on all the topics that we talked about: grief, the sexual assault with children, the dangerous man. I mean, knowing yourself, meditation, everything that we talked about is something that we can all get some value from. So thank you, Natalie, for coming on today. Guys, I hope you enjoyed Natalie as much as I did. I'm so sad that I gotta go so early. Guys, you can check out Natalie's website. It's pinned to the bottom of the screen, as well as I'm going to tag her in my social media pages. So if you are one of those that know someone, or you yourself want to join her classes, her seminars, please do go ahead on over to Barnes and Nobles and Amazon and check out her 2 books. And we'll have those pinned in the show notes as well. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a wealth of information. If you don't do anything else today, be kind to yourself, be kind to someone else, but a hot meal goes a long, long way. Guys, join us Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 11:30 a.m. for morning inspirations, a little bit of Bible study, a little bit of something to feed your soul, as well as Freedom Fridays. We've got a whole list of people that's coming all the way up into August 1st. So tune in on Fridays. You never know, you might miss something. Good stuff. We thank Natalie Lamb for coming to the show today. You guys be blessed in all that you do on this weekend. If you don't do anything else, get yourself in a good Bible-based church. Blessings to you all until next time, if it be in God's will.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.